Hi, I'm Aaron Rabinowitz. I'm an animator, visual effects artist, producer, software designer. Honestly, it depends on the day. But as a part of my work, I'll often do some sound design, at least a little bit. I'm usually involved in many areas of the production process, and it helps to know at least a little bit about everything so that I can give some good direction. Now, I recently started down the path of exploring virtual instruments, which is applications in sound design, and I quickly came across Orchestral Tools Metropolis Ark, which is a series of orchestral virtual instrument libraries, each with their own very distinct personality. And I love sharing things as I explore them, so in this short video, I'm going to talk about Metropolis Ark 5, the last of the libraries in the series. Now, this is not a review. I'm not qualified as a musician to do that, but I'm just looking at something that I'm really enjoying and that fits in with the kind of work that I might do. Now, Metropolis Ark is different from a lot of the other libraries that I've looked at in that it's focused on musical moments, intense moments, crescendos, tension building, and more. I wouldn't say that it's a complete orchestral library. For example, there's no percussion, but there is percussion in the other Metropolis Ark libraries, and in fact, I think one of them is entirely devoted to percussion, so check them out. Before we jump into it, I think it's worth mentioning that, unlike a lot of other instruments you might be familiar with that run in Native Instruments Contact, Orchestral Tools has their own platform. So in your DAW, you'll just grab hold of the sign player and you'll drag that into your timeline, and that will open up the sign player where you can access all the libraries of instruments that you have from Orchestral Tools. I've watched a bunch of videos on working with sign. It's actually a very deep and powerful tool for working with these instruments, but it's also pretty simple to use. And I'm just going to focus right now on the library of instruments themselves, but I definitely recommend watching their videos on the sign player and how to use it. Okay, so let's jump into the Metropolis Ark 5 library. I'll just click on Browse, which twirls down all these folders and shows me what's inside. You can see we've got different folders with different little libraries in there. I'm going to twirl down the orchestral section here, and I've got strings, woodwinds, and brass, and there's some cool things kind of sprinkled throughout all these regular instruments. So for example, I'll go into brass, right? I'm going to go down to brass ensemble. And when I click on that, you can see that there's 4 sub-instruments. Really, they're the same brass ensemble, but they're doing different ways of playing that instrument. So in the case of this, I can grab the marcato fanfare, and I can just drag it over here and just have the marcato fanfare. Right, something like that. Or I can take the entire instrument, so let me just remove this. I can take the entire brass ensemble, drop that in there, and as it loads everything up, I've got the marcato fanfare, the staccato fanfare, the rips down, and the rips up. And now it's given me these key switches, which make it possible for me to jump between these different ways of playing it. So if I click on here on the actual musical keyboard, which, by the way, I can't do at this moment because I'm on a much smaller keyboard than the standard 88 keys. So I'm going to actually move the keys down here. So it lets me get a little closer to my instrument. And now if I want to play the key switches, I've got them closer to where I am on the keyboard. So right, and okay, now let's talk about these rips ups and rips down, right? We've got our rips down, right? And we've got our rip ups, which switch it over here. These would be hard to play on a virtual instrument alone, so having these kinds of little flourishes, these sorts of little moments are really cool for adding kick into your music, adding a moment of something when you're trying to bring something together. Looking into the woodwind section, you can see that there are 3 different main instruments, and within those, obviously, the little sub-instruments. I'm particularly a fan of the high woodwinds, chords major, chords minor, and chords open. I don't know, maybe it's because I watched a lot of Star Trek The Next Generation, but every episode seems to have started with this kind of musical flourish. Captain's Log, Stardate 3997.5. We're orbiting the planet Deneb 3, awaiting the ambassador to help us in a politically delicate matter. Also, in a completely unrelated side story that will both entertain and become metaphorically relevant to the bigger story, Commander Data is learning to juggle. There's also the chords minor, which are great for generating the feeling of doom or the portent of evil. And there's the chords open, which, there's a lot more flexibility in terms of the mood when you're using open chords. There's also some crescendos at different lengths, like here's crescendo medium. and things like our glissandos up and down. So there's lots of cool little things in here. Metropolis Ark 5 also includes a set of choirs, a female choir, a male choir, and a mixed choir. And each of them has their strengths and different things that they do. I've loaded up the mixed choir here, and you can do your standard sustains for a mixed choir, right? But they also have these great stuff like the rips up and the rips down, so right? And they've got crescendos, so let's go with a nice medium crescendo here. Right? And then they've got the glissandos, which are really cool, especially if you're doing movie trailers and you need a nice riser. They have various lengths and different sounds, so let's just look at the short one here. And then you can go really long. Obviously, I'm just scratching the surface. There's a ton of stuff in here. We control down the blends, and we can see all these different instrument combinations with different kinds of musical moments and effects. And if you're looking for a standard, really broad orchestral library, this might not be the thing for you. But again, the Metropolis Ark as a whole might be. But if you're looking for musical moments, whether they're crescendos or these glissandos or other things that you can use in your trailers or use in your songs, in your musical moments, or in your sound design, this library is full of great stuff for that kind of thing. Anyway, as always, I hope that this helps you in your work. Once again, I'm Alan Rabinowitz. I'll see you soon.